help him save face. Using question, Jaehwan can hear what they are talking about telepathically. The vice leader of the clan notes that this is their chance to teach this fool a lesson, as no matter how strong he is, he cannot hope to endure all of their attacks. Gooker asks her to hold her anger back. Has she truly forgotten that they are not here to fight with the fortress master? Jaehwan eagerly listens to their conversation and wonders what they are here to do, if not fight him. Gooker asks the other person, Hai Young, what she will do, and she notes that she will be continuing to observe them. Gooker asks who is behind the Forbidden Heaven clan for the Steel Monarch to make his move in such a crude way, but Hai Young says that she cannot answer that. She just hopes that they can do a good enough job with that they asked. Gooker's face contorts after hearing this, but with nothing else to do, she asks what needs to be done. Hai Young explains that they need to personally know the fortress master, and Jaehwan thinks that basically the other person is using her as a pawn to see how useful he truly is. With her mission set, Gooker explains that she has no intention to fight him now, but that doesn't mean that she surrenders. Even if they have no intention to fight him, that doesn't mean they will raise their white flag. She is only saying that they are voluntarily joining the Abyss expedition, all three of them. The other people look at this with a serious and questioning expression, while Jaehwan asks what kind of schemes they are really up to. Gooker assures him that this is no scheme. If this journey truly is to bring back life to the people of Chaos, there is no need for schemes. The public starts to become restless, as there is no fighting going on, which is boring. Gooker notes that, since they got this far, he should also be honest, he had no intention of giving up the Fortress Master position to any of them in the first place, right? That would be only natural, because this competition wasn't to choose new Fortress Master in the first place. It was hosted to recruit people for the Abyss expedition. She can't lie, she was very impressed with his method too, because after the Abyss expedition failed 900 years ago, nobody would dare plan something this grand. However, because of this, she is proud to be standing in this arena with him, and she is sure that goes for the rest of the people here too. Now, she is speaking to everyone, as she knows they aren't here because they are interested about the position of Fortress Master. She removes her face cover, and her emerald eyes widen as she rises into the air, and countless butterflies appear. She notes that she would like to hear his true thoughts about all of this, and the crowd's eyes glisten purple as they are slowly being bewitched by her eyes. Gooker asks, is the reason that they are all here because of the fight that is going on, or for the future and life of Chaos? She would like to believe that Chaos has not forgotten about their dreams. The skill that she is using now is called the Righteous Eye, and it slowly bewitches the spectators to believe that they also need to know about it. Jaehwan notices this, and wonders if he should just end things here with a single attack. But that's when an elderly man puts his hands up, as he agrees with the priestess clan leader. He did not come from all of the way north, just to see some fights. The people recognize this man as the gentleman's sword, who doesn't carry any affiliations. However, judging by their smiles, it seems that now he has at least one allegiance. Jaehwan's face turns sour, as this has become extremely annoying. Carlton walks around the fortress, checking to see if everything is all right. But that's when he notices some strange sounds from the office. When he opens the doors, he sees a messenger eagle and walks towards it, wondering when it came, as the office has been empty for quite a while. The messenger eagle notices him and relays the message it was given, something which shocks him to his very core. A group of dead, including a mega dead, is approaching Gorgon, and fast, from the Druid Fortress Master. Carlton looks out of the window and sees the dark energy coming towards them. It really is true. At the arena, Jaehwan also notices how dark and cloudy the sky has become, but he is distracted by Gooker, who notes that they should not be having an internal conflict right now. They should all just work together, so they should end the competition now, while they can, because really, he has accomplished his true objective. There are already countless souls that are willing to risk neck and limb in order to join the Abyss expedition after all. She thinks that now, with full control over the situation, the last thing that needs to be done is this. She begins speaking to everyone, as there is still an important question that is sadly left unanswered. Just who will be the expedition's captain? Chung Hyo notes that this girl is playing some dangerous tricks on the people, and Muguk agrees. He analyzes her and thinks that she's using the Righteous Eye skill with a very good illusionary technique. And now, She's retracting her skill. Just what is she planning to do? Gyuker notes that the current fortress master should take up that role, as with his strength, that surpasses the 10 clans, and his intelligence, that surpasses the smartest chaos scientists, he will become a perfect leader, and a true history figure of chaos. The spectators think that the priestess clan leader is amazing, as she is a person who seeks to raise others, rather than themselves. The gentleman's sword says that the expedition captain is not a position one can take with only good strength and intelligence. Gyuker asks what other qualities are needed for an expedition captain, and he explains that most importantly, it needs to be someone who is able to lead numerous numbers without trouble, and a suitable personality to boot. He truly believes that they all need to carefully look at the fortress master, and determine for themselves if he is fit for the job, and she could do that for them quite easily. She asks how, and the gentleman's sword tells her to use the righteous audit, as it would solve their issue fast. Gyuker smiles, and the public agrees that she should use that, since then it will be easy to figure out the Gorgon fortress master. Jaehwan announces that the righteous audit will be used, and tells everyone to clear the stage, except the fortress master, of course. Gyuker notes that, since there is no helping it, and if this is what everyone truly wants, she will do it. She begins activating the technique, and asks Jaehwan, will he go through this audit, and take up the position of the expedition captain, like he originally intended? Chung Hyo scoffs, and says that they were completely tricked by this woman to think she would use the righteous audit. Maguk notes that everyone around here knows about her little Q&A ability, as higher stage adapters would plead with her to use that thing on them, to fill up their enlightenment values, in order to progress to the next stage. Chung Hyo is worried now though, as if Jaehwan just blows everyone up like he usually does. They can say goodbye to the expedition, as nobody would want to follow a lunatic that harms his own subordinates. But if they do nothing, his personality will show through the test, and unfortunately, his personality isn't good at all. Jaehwan accepts the conditions, much to Chung Hyo's surprise. Gyuker asks once again if he will go through the audit, and Jaehwan once again confirms that he will. She says that if this is the case, she will begin now. For a good few minutes they stand still, and the spectators wonder what they are doing, but that's when the whole place changes into a crashing water body that is taking out an entire ship, which Jaehwan is on. She explains that the first stage of the audit is the ocean region, as in reality, most of the ocean region consists of dangerous seas like this one. So, as you can probably see and feel by this point, things like a ship being fully wrecked happen often around these parts, if the ships are not good enough. Fortunately for everyone on board, a rescue ship has appeared out of nowhere. But there is a problem. There is still one more person who needs to get on board, but this ship can only carry 10 people, and it will sink if they carry any more. Suddenly a man appears behind Jaehwan and calls him captain. He asks for his opinion. What will they do? He needs to make a decision quickly. Now, he is presented with two choices. 1. Let those who were fortunate enough to get on the boat first survive, and give up one person, or 2. Not leave any people behind, even if it means that there is a chance for the rescue ship to sink and kill everyone. Now what will he do? Jaehwan looks at the choices he has, and wonders if this is really all there is to it, while Gyuker flies above him, and asks what he will do in this given situation. If he chooses to go with the first choice, people will certainly blame him for being a heartless monster. But if he chooses number 2, then they will start questioning his judgment. No matter what choice he makes right now, his right to become expedition captain or not will be put into question. That's when Jaehwan announces his choice. He chooses to go with option 3, something which shocks Gyuker, who notes that there are only 2 choices, not 3. Jaehwan explains that option 3 is that he will be able to save everyone, including the ship. He will not allow it to sink. Gyuker bites her lower lip, as she knows that he just found the 3rd hidden choice. This hidden option appears only to those who always look for their own answer, and it goes like this. He will not give up anyone, save the one that has fallen, and make everyone take turns to go into the water and come back. Gyuker thinks that this is the only choice here that saves everyone, whilst not giving up a human life. However, this is bad for her, as she intended for him to look incompetent by just showing 2 equally hard choices, but her plan is backfiring right now. She says that he should tell everyone loudly what his 3rd choice is, as everyone is dying because of this turbulent and violent sea, right? Jaehwan notes that if this is the case, he will just have to split the sea open. This statement takes Gyuker back even more, and wonders if this guy just lost it because he was flustered or something. That's when Jaehwan takes a step forward and breathes in heavily while holding his mighty sword. Gyuker tells him to stop, as she doesn't know what he's trying to do, and Chung-hyo recognizes the pose he just did instantly. He screams at everyone to get away, and as fast as possible. With a sudden bright flash, Jaehwan unleashes a mighty thrust, something which shocks everyone, including the system, who can only see this as an error. And so, before Jaehwan, the water disappears entirely. His crew comes around and they start celebrating them being alive, but Jaehwan tells them to get off, as he doesn't like being touched. However, with the last of their existence, they offer their most warm thanks, and Jaehwan sees something in them, a speck of humanity. With that, the righteous audit comes to an end, and rightfully so. Gyuker is very mad, as she also got hit by the attack somewhat. Jaehwan looks at her a single time and notes that they should stop messing around now and get real. Gyuker's eyes widen, but that's when the entire Gorgon territory is locked up and alarms start to blare. Seeing this, Jaehwan immediately runs toward the problem, and a voice tells everyone inside of the fortress that all of the events have been cancelled and the fortress gates will be locked indefinitely. Most citizens wonder what is going on, but those who saw the dark cloud know and tell the others that the dead are coming, so they should hide as fast as they can. From where the dead are coming, everyone has gathered, and Yong notices the pitch-black group that is advancing towards them. He feels quite unfortunate, as the Lighting God clan got destroyed in Manticore, and now he's facing an entire swarm of dead in Gorgon. Just what is this luck? Huang tells him that if he's scared, then he shouldn't join the expedition, as he won't be able to do anything. Yong says that if this is the case, he should also give up, as his legs are shaking like those of a scared chicken. Chung-hyo ponders the situation, and thinks that he never expected for a child that is not even 900 years old to be taking up the leading role in chaos. There are 6 of the 10 clans here: Limitless, Southern Sea, Savant, Priestess, Fire King, and the last remains of the Lightning God. He never expected to see something like this in his lifetime, but he can't lie. It does feel nice. He asks Muguk if this doesn't remind him of something they did a long time ago, and Muguk asks if he's talking about the Dead Palace situation. Chung-hyo nods, and Muguk notes that indeed, they saw something very similar to this back then. However, he does not know why that thing is here now. Chung-hyo thinks that the dead always call the dead. When a medium dead appears, small dead would arrive. When a large dead appears, medium dead gather. And since in Gorgon, the dead king has appeared, it will bring in something which has made every single fortress build high walls in the first place. The disaster that everyone fears, even in chaos, the mega dead, backwards walking Magritte. The undead assault begins in earnest, and the people who didn't manage to evacuate in time are butchered one by one, and in gruesome ways too. Gyuker watches in extreme horror as an entire horde of dead descend upon the fortress, and with the dead all around her, she thinks that this is the end. They are all done for. An elderly woman also tries to get away, but due to the fear in her body, accompanied by her old age, she trips, allowing herself to become feed for these ruthless beasts. Gyuker notices and wants to do something, but in that moment, the gentleman's sword appears. She thinks that it's a relief, and screams at him to go help that frail person. But instead of that, he lets her be killed in cold blood, while he continues to run away. He apologizes deeply as it's too hard for anybody to deal with that many dead. Gyuker has now lost all hope, as they are powerless in this situation. They can't do anything. For his crimes against the lowly, the gentleman's sword is rightfully punished, and immediately killed by the dead in a surprise attack. Gyuker can only watch, and a single tear flows down her face. Every single choice they made was useless. What use is there in getting the right answer, if the world is like this, where only dead is dominant, and suffering is the only promised thing? In this world without choice, something like hope does not and should not exist. The countless dead attack her, but suddenly one is slashed in two right in front of her face, by none other than Yong, who screams at her to get a damn grip, as they need all of the help they can get. That's when she notices that everyone around her are fighting for their lives. But why? They are just buying time for others to escape. Even if they fight, There is no possible way they can win against all of this. Are they all fearless because of how reckless they are? But that's not it. As he sees Yang trembling, they are all afraid, very afraid in fact. But if that's the case, just what gives them the hope to keep moving like this? Yang tells her that even if this looks to be a little rough, she should not be afraid, as there is somebody who is fighting a much bigger threat up there, and alone too. A single undead tries to interrupt Jaehwan's fight, but he immediately grabs it by the neck and splits it in two with just his grip. The Megadead raises a few stone slabs from the fortress and aims them at Jaehwan, who notes that it's quite rude for it to just bite someone else's fortress. The Megadead unleashes the stone onto Jaehwan and then also continues attacking, not giving up the attack for even a second. It wants him dead. Jaehwan thinks that this is quite the troublesome opponent, as he goes near it. It will use its ability to rip off objects. However, if he keeps his distance, it unleashes a large breath attack, something that is quite difficult to dodge given the space. It can also unleash it again almost instantly, something which ticks Jaehwan off, so he chooses to stand in front of it this time and face it. Back on the ground, Chung-hyo continues to fight, but grips his sword tightly, as all of this reminds him of back then, when they failed the expedition, and he felt like humans could do nothing against the undead tide. In the face of such despair, realistically, there is nothing they can do. That's when a bright light shines in front of him, and he remembers what the old Tower Master said. The people of this place need hope, something that will overwhelm them, a hope that keeps pushing and stops at nothing. Jaehwan manages to get close enough to the Megadead and pierced it deeply. They both fall down as they exchange blows in the air, in a spectacle of good and evil. Everyone protects themselves from the blast as the sun shines through the broken fortress wall. But as the dust clears, it is shown that Jaehwan has won this fight, and he smiles, as he thinks he should have done something like this much earlier. Chung-hyo is extremely surprised, and asks who the hell he is. But they don't have time to talk, as the undead are trying to attack him from every which way. Quite literally, he is surrounded. Jaehwan just sits silently while they gather, and tells them to not get in his way. He unleashes a mighty attack, which clears some of them, and then unleashes another, a much larger one, which makes Chung-hyo think about what happened at the righteous audit, that Jaehwan split the sea, and that's what he's doing right now too. Everyone around looks at the gigantic hole he made, and Muguk notes that he's quite reckless, and Chung-hyo agrees, but he has decided to protect that reckless person, no matter what. Muguk tells him that if this is the case, they will do it with him too, and so, with a new glimmer of hope, everyone gathers around and gets ready to fight. Muguk is the first to take down another enemy, and everyone follows after him, including Yang, who charges towards a large dead and defeats it in one strike. While he and Hwang fight, he notes that it's quite embarrassing to say something like this right now, but he feels the need to tell someone, no matter what. Hwang tells him to say it already, as he's hesitating for too long, but once Yang lands on his feet, he announces that he feels really cool right now. So is he? Hwang doesn't say a single word, and Yang begs him to say something already. On his side, Hwang is being charged at, and he notices that his body is slowing down heavily because of the fatigue, and at this rate, he will fall on his knees. Suddenly, just when a monster is about to attack him, someone throws a rock at the beast, a girl, who has chosen to fight despite the situation. The dead is rightfully annoyed by this, and so it charges the girl, who cannot hope to defend herself. But that's when she screams to do it now, and countless chains begin enveloping the dead. Naturally, this ability is that of Carlton, who is standing ready to fight, amongst the others who have chosen to fight alongside him. Hwang smiles, and says that fighting like this feels much, much better. Everyone is trying their best in this dire situation, and Jaehwan smiles, as he slams his sword into the ground, and the whole fortress is enveloped by a blue glow. 10 days after this incident, people have started rebuilding, and the news that the three great dead and Magritte have been defeated. A reporter asks the fortress blacksmith, in his honest opinion, what does he think the biggest change in this fortress has been? The blacksmith thinks for a second, and notes that living here became much nicer, which makes the reporter asks how so. The blacksmith explains that 6 of the 10 clans in Chaos moved their headquarters in here, and there was a huge increase in supplies, especially horns from the horned beasts, and thanks to all of this, their economy also grew quite a lot. The reporter looks around and says that, By just looking at the situation, he didn't think that someone would say that it's actually nice to live here. However, he can't deny, the atmosphere around here is lively and cheery at times. The blacksmith notes that he is only saying this because he didn't watch the path of waves for himself. This is what the people call the incident, where a sea of dead was parted by Jaehwan's sword. It's almost like those who saw it fell into a trance, as everyone threw themselves into battle and fought the dead, even if countless people have lost their lives. The reporter wonders what these people saw, in order to make them say that they can live in chaos, even after all of this. It seems that after this, Gorgon's residents have started to truly live. Suddenly, a large explosion is heard, and the reporter asks what that is. The blacksmith tells him to not worry, as this happens pretty often, and it's nothing bad. The reporter thinks that the only ones that could cause such an explosion are high-stage adapters, and it's true that the 6 of the 10 clan heads are here. He asks if there's a war between the clans, and the blacksmith notes that it's something similar, and that's when 5 figures fall from the air, and the blacksmith smiles, as there's only 5 today. Jaehwan sits in the training room and announces that every single one of them have a long way to go before they become strong. Hong hears about what happened and smashes his wine glass at the one who told him, demanding he explain once again what happened. The messenger obliges and announces that the mega dead which charged Gorgon, the one who went by the name of Magritte, has been killed. This angers Hong, as that mega dead was made from a stage 9 adapter in the almighty land, and it's a monster that could only be dealt with by a lieutenant or something higher. Just how did those Gorgon bastards manage to defeat one of the only 3 mega deads in chaos? He tells his man to look into the situation now, and thinks that this shouldn't have happened. He is sure that there was a mistake somewhere. 4 days after this, news of the North Branch of Forbidden Heaven clan, that's near Gorgon, spread about, more specifically, about its destruction. At the fortress, Jaehwan calls all of the other clan leaders weak, and asks what they have been doing all of the centuries they have been alive for. Yong wonders how they can ever hope to defeat such a monster. But that's when Jaehwan calls him, and tells him that he only has quick feet. He also tells Huang that he has power, but he's very slow, and Jaegal that he thinks too much before he acts. He moves on to Gook, and tells her that she's nimble and has good instincts, but her stamina is laughable. The final one is Cayman, and he notes that he's the best among them. His basics are good, and doesn't have any weaknesses, but that goes both ways, as he has no specific strengths either. However, they all have one common problem, that they manage to obtain something without putting in effort at all. Chung Hyo notes that this is refreshing to hear, but Jaehwan also goes on to their case, as they have lived for 1,000 years each, but they are still weak. Chung Hyo doesn't like this, but he can't deny that he's right, as 900 years ago, all of the clan leaders were at least 7th stage adapters, and the leader of the Heavenly Dragon clan was 9th stage. Even with that, Mullark was much stronger than all of them. The expedition was a tough journey, even for such strong people. That's the kind of place the Abyss is. Jaehwan explains that during the subjugation of the Forbidden Heave clan's North Branch, half of them were either very injured or almost died, and they weren't even attacking their headquarters. They are already in this state after dealing with a single clan, so how can they hope to go on the expedition? Thus, as of today, all of them will be doing some special training for a single week. Yeagle thinks about how many muscles he will get, and he also asks if everyone here is an adapter. It's not easy to jump to the next stage, as he might think. Normal people would take at least 10 years before they become first stage adapters. Then, they would take 20 years to reach second stage, 40 years for third stage, and so on. Most humans would die before that. Jaehwan asks what he's trying to say, and Jaegal puts it simply, is he trying to turn them into awakened? This idea shocks everyone, and Jaegal notes that, from what he's heard, awakened do not accumulate power over time, and rather, reach the next stage through enlightenment. Jaehwan says that indeed, that's what he's planning, if they are able to abandon their own world, that is. Zhang asks what he means, and Chung Hyo tells them that there are 3 stages for those who wish to awaken. First, would be to destroy the world of adaptation, the one that they have lived in so far. Those who are able to, will be able to see the world for that it truly is. Zhang wonders what he means, and Gooker notes that he's asking them to leave behind things like status, which benefits only the system. Zhang notes that he is also an overcharged adapter. These people have a lot of affinity with skills and the interface system, while also possessing the ability to grow much faster. Thus, people think that they are blessed by the system. Huang says that everyone around here is an overcharged adapter, but that's when Kaiman says that he's not. So, he will throw away his skills and world. If it means that he will become stronger, he will throw it all away, except the hatred he has towards the monarchs. They all wonder what he's talking about, and Gyukur explains that they have to throw everything away, including everything they accumulated so far, but also something much greater. She asks if they have ever heard of the Great Disappearance, and Jaehwan asks what it is. She explains that it started along with cracks appearing. 700 years ago, they suddenly appeared. In the Almighty Land, the terrorist group known as Cracks, that announced their fight against the cultivators, were all found with that proclamation shoved in their chest, and another proclamation, this one from the monarchs of the 4 areas. If one wants to become awakened, they need to come to the Forgotten Land and deny this world completely. There were thousands of adapters who gathered there that day, however. Nobody knows what happened. As per what everyone thinks, they have simply ceased to exist. Yong asks if there were any survivors, and Gyukur notes that there were some, and her comrades were among them, and they had become awakeners, even though they were only stage 1. Jaehwan asks what happened to them, and with a sorrowful tone, she tells him that every single one of them took their own lives. The experience broke them down mentally, and they either went mad or lost their memories completely. They all had various things wrong with them, but one thing they shared, they did not know who they were before this. Jaehwan looks at her and tells her to listen carefully, as he will make 2 things clear for her. First, he is not a part of the Cracks organization, but he understands her suspicion, given his awakened status. Secondly, like she talked about, awakening is dangerous, so he will accept volunteers for those who want to awaken. She asks what he will do with those that refuse, and Jaehwan tells her that he will still help them become stronger. He just needs to help them achieve higher stages of adaptation. She asks if he didn't listen to Jaegal, as he explained it takes years and years to just get one stage. Jaehwan says that it's not a problem and they should all follow him. They do so, and they arrive in the center of the fortress, where the blacksmith is building something. Jaehwan asks if it can be activated now, and the blacksmith notes that it can. And so, the tower beams a bright light, and they all get one question. Will they accept the summon to the Tower of Nightmares? Carpe diem? They all accept the invite, and are surprised when they get inside, as they did not believe that a human could actually create the Tower of Nightmares like this. Even if it doesn't have a second floor, it is still rather impressive. Jaegal says that he's actually touched by this. He never expected there would be a place like this that is not meant for domination, but rather to break it. Yong is equally as excited, and Jaehwan explains that from here on out, their training will be done in here, as it will be much more proficient, since time in here flows 100 times slower than the outside. 1 day outside is 100 days here. This means that a mere week outside would be 700 days here. So they have approximately 2 entire years to train and become better. But the speed of the soul corruption is inversely proportional to the rate at which time is slowed down. Just to be safe, when one of their soul's corruptions goes past 80%, they will be kicked out instantly. Additionally, the horns of horned beasts would always be on standby outside, so there shouldn't be a need to worry about the corruption. Yong is surprised to find that Jaehwan isn't just a cold-blooded and self-centered person, and promises once again to follow him for all of eternity if need be. With that explanation out of the way, Jaehwan gets to separating those who want to awaken and those who do not. Those who want to will stand on his right side, and those who only want to increase their adapter level stand on the left. After they do that, training begins in earnest, and Yong seems to be attacked by Gyukur. But still, he mocks her, as she is far too slow to catch him. Suddenly, a flaming fireball comes in front of him, from Huang, who was trying to third-party him. He explains that speed isn't that important. What is important is destructive power, and he, the mighty Fire King, has that. Jaegal looks at their squabble and sighs, as they are all pathetic, and there's no way they will improve. The 3 immediately team up and look at him with glowing eyes, and get to chasing shortly after. Muguk looks at this, and thinks of what happened previously, when they were choosing. As everyone expected, Cayman is the only one who chose to go through the awakening, and he seemed pretty confident about it too. Gyukur also asked how he's going to raise their adapter levels. as it's not easy for high-stage adapters to become even more stronger than they are already. They need to get a certain level of enlightenment or learn new top-level skills to increase their proficiency. Jaehwan told her that this can be solved quite easily, which she was angry about, as a top-level skill book, which they would need, isn't easy to get. Is he also planning to steal from one of the great clans, like Zhang did? Jaehwan said that they don't need a skill book. All they need is to learn from a teacher. But he will not be that teacher, because from now on, they themselves will become each other's teachers. Muguk thinks that this idea for them to learn from each other is very revolutionary, as since the clans are all stupidly prideful, this is something that they could have never done under normal circumstances. And seeing how hyped up these youngsters are to prove themselves and their skills, the plan that Jaehwan proposed might actually work quite nicely. However, this makes him wonder about Kaiman and what he's going through on the second floor. On that second floor, Kaiman keeps thrusting and wonders just how many times has he repeated this action. 10,000 times? 100,000 times? Maybe it goes beyond that, but still, Jaehwan tells him to increase his speed, and he does just that, but can't help but ask if he will really be getting stronger like this. Jaehwan is surprised that he keeps asking questions like this, as he should feel something right about now. Kaiman does indeed start to see something, and Jaehwan asks him if he's feeling uneasy because he hasn't fought against the other adapters. Kaiman notes that he knows he's not someone who is talented. Jaehwan thinks that this statement is wrong. He is different from the other clan leaders that were blessed with being overcharged. His consistency and sheer hard work has brought him to being the strongest out there. Additionally, his mental fortitude allowed him to not lose his self despite having reached the question stage. The only thing that leads to an awakening is not talent, but willpower. Suddenly he tells Kaiman that he believes in him, so he asks him to trust him and continue. Kaiman is clearly touched by this, as he hasn't heard those words in a long time, so he clenches his sword even tighter and thrusts his sword even faster. Near the improvised tower, the woman who is at the arena looks at it while drinking and finds it quite impressive, as this is not an easy thing to make. She also asks her master, Chung Heo, if he also doesn't find it impressive. He looks at her sternly and asks Seola what she's planning this time. She notes that he's being quite mean and that they haven't met in a long while. However, he should just come back, as everyone is waiting for him to. Chung Heo explains to her, like he did all of those times, that he will not be going back, because there is no way that he will team up with them ever again. They are a bunch of inhumane bastards. Seolha gets up and tells him that they are actually fighting for humanity. They are the only ones who do it so earnestly. Only them, crack. Chung Heo says that this is a lie, as they are using humans to an end, and their organization is already on its way out after the Great Disappearance happened. Seola begins laughing out loud after she hears this, as she can't believe he would say something like that. Because he was one of the fuckers who planned the Great Disappearance. Isn't that right? Chung Heo starts walking away and tells her that this is not true. She notes that things didn't progress in the way that he wanted, but he did not stop the event and simply watched as it happened. However, she feels thankful for this, as if it were not for him and his choices, she wouldn't be here at all. He should also know, since he is tied to this, that there are countless people within Crack that are trying to awaken using the method he taught them so long ago. They swing their swords at each other hundreds and thousands of times. They do that and kill each other again and again and again. Among those who do this, a very small number would survive and swing their swords 1 billion times if need be. They would become numb to life and death, letting them surpass humanity and see the world for what it is. That is how they obtain the first key word to awaken, dismantle. Chung Heo pulls his sword out and demands that she shut up, as that is the wrong keyword. He pulls her into his unique world, and she notices that it's the same as before. It is still weak, as he got lost from losing his humanity, and was not able to draw anything in this world that he went through so much to even make. She, however, filled her world and became the second core captain of Crack. Seolha begins cutting his world apart, with great ease in fact. Chung Hyo believes that she became a captain with such skills, and asks if she also achieved the 3rd stage of awakening. She explains that it wasn't just the 3rd stage, and starts transforming the world around them. She asks if this pleases him, as this, all of this death, is the scene of the Great Disappearance. Does he enjoy her masterpiece, her life's work? How does he feel after looking at the sea, filled with corpses? He tells Chung Hyo that the living are not trying to pretend to be dead. He knows that there is nothing that will change that in chaos, right? This world will never change, so he should come back already, with her. Chung Hyo announces that it will change. He knows that it will. He believes that 100%. Seola can't believe that he still has the willpower to have so much faith. But even with his little helper, he is going to fail. Just like he did 900 years ago, and like when he abandoned all of them and ran away like a coward. He can do what he wishes at this point, but he should know that Crack will always be watching him. Inside of the tower, Cayman goes through all of the stages of awakening. First, to question it. The second stage is to understand the world he questions, and the third becomes quite blurry to him. Suddenly, Jaehwan attacks him and shouts at him to wake up. His sword falls to the ground, but Cayman dodges and barely lands on his feet. Jaehwan says that he did not want to see such a pathetic display from him. He should fight, like he is fighting for his life. Cayman feels all of the strikes, and can't even think of him winning this fight. He can't even comprehend just how powerful Jaehwan truly is. This also makes him wonder if he even became stronger than before. He closes his eyes and accepts his defeat, but Jaehwan tells him the final key to unlock the third stage, to remove the limits that the world dared to put on him. With that, Cayman opens his eyes wide and unlocks the third stage of awakening.